EU law. But a Zelensky advisor called for it in the Parliament magazine, and here we are again reporting for duty. And all it will do is make peace harder to achieve. Exactly, of course, what the extremists want. No peace, no off-ramps, all bridges burning, and Ukraine a permanent abattoir in a suicidal holy crusade against Russia. So, if you want to start naming state sponsors of terrorism, let's do it. European sponsorship of Israeli terrorism in Palestine, Western sponsorship of Saudi terror in Yemen, ISIS, the product of French, American, British, Turkish and Gulf sponsorship in Syria and Iraq. Decades of right-wing US-backed terrorism against the Cuban Revolution, the Contras in Nicaragua, death squads in Guatemala, in El Salvador. Remember Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, horror after horror, terror after terror. There's nothing constructive about the pot calling the kettle black. Would you ever cop on, start championing peace and end the war, which is patently in the interests of EU, Ukrainian and Russian citizens? The decision doesn't rest with MEPs, but rather with the Conference of Presidents. And of course, Sakharov was a dissident in his hemisphere, and in recognition of that, we award a prize in his name every year. The Sakharov Prize should be for the exercise of intellectual freedoms, and it's in that way we seek to uphold those freedoms everywhere. But of course, instead, we've traditionally used it as a stick to beat our so-called enemies. So this year, for once, why don't we do something for what it's really supposed to be about? Today, freedom of thought is under threat at home. Julian Assange is a dissident in our own hemisphere. He's persecuted not by our so-called opponents, but by our like-minded partners for upholding the central responsibilities of a journalist, holding power to account for exposing the war crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan. If we recognise Assange with the Sakharov Prize, it can deliver a genuine victory for freedom of thought. Instead of harping on about human rights in places where we've no power, for once we've a chance to do something meaningful. So let's organise to have the award of the Sakharov Prize for Julian Assange.